I have a few cool things to show you, starting off with an initialize mod 7. Let's go in and make our basic edits. Switching this to a gate style envelope and going to the oscillators, and I'm going to be using the first 4 oscillators, taking off the envelopes. For this one, I'm going to be showing you some really neat things with distortion. So first things first, let's go to the patch panel. I'm going to put 2 into 1, 4 into 3, and then 3 into the output. And going into oscillator 1, I'm going to choose a Waveshaper. Oscillator 2, I'm going to choose a saw. Oscillator 3, I'm going to choose another Waveshaper. Oscillator 4 will be a saw. Double checking, yep. And then in the output, I'm going to phase flip the first one. We get a perfect phase cancellation. As you can hear, there's no sound. The reason I do it this way is because if I were to just try to do a phase cancellation between these saws by just putting the output of oscillator 2 into 1, which is, this input is being phase flipped, the Waveshaper of oscillator 3, even though it's linear, still adds a little bit of something, as you can hear there. If I were to go to oscillator 2 and actually make it a little less bright, then we do get a better phase cancellation, but you can still hear that there's something there. And I want a perfect phase cancellation. So I'll just, oops. Yep, so that's perfect phase cancellation. I could actually just disconnect that since it's connected anyway. So now that I have this perfect phase cancellation, I can go into oscillator 3, which is the Waveshaper, and I can change the tables, the distortion types of the Waveshaper. And as I'm scrolling, we're actually only hearing the harmonics produced by the wavetable. Now the whole thing about distortion is that it's a nonlinear process, so quieter things distort differently from louder things. It generates different harmonics based off of volume. That's what nonlinear means. And to really explore the distortion, to hear it in all its glory, we can add a macro to oscillators 4 and 2. And the way we do that is we have it on additive mode, set the volume to 0, and have our AMS on Knob.8+, put the intensity on full. And then for 2, we do the exact same thing. Put it on 0, additive AMS 8+, and put the intensity on full. Now when I switch over to real-time controls, and I have my knob all the way to the left, we don't hear anything because there's no volume. But if I turn it up, then we actually get to hear we get to hear the sound going through the different flavors of the distortion. So I think like frequency 7 had a lot of interesting sounds. If the knob's all the way to the left, so you can really hear how that distortion changes depending on the volume. Now if we jump over to oscillator 2, or let's go to oscillator 1, sure, which is our Waveshaper. And then if I take down the volume, then I'm just hearing the sound of the sawtooth with the distortion going to the output. And actually, let's turn down the volume of that a little bit. And if I were to turn this up, that's the distortion by itself. That's the distortion with the sawtooth. So that's pretty neat. This is acting kind of like a mixer, I guess you could think of it. Turning up the original sawtooth waveform when we turn it down. Yeah, so I thought that was a really neat trick to just getting to explore the tables. In fact, we can kind of we can actually uh, let's boost the let's boost the drive, because if we boost the sound going into it, let's go whole 10 dB, sure. If we boost the sound going into it, we actually get different distortion flavors, but we can still use our macro knob to explore those distortion flavors. In fact, let's just go all the way up. I think it's plus 36 dB. And let's have our macro all the way to the left. I'm actually here stepping there because it ends up just clipping into nonsense so fast that there's not much to explore. Let's go with 16 dB, and let's explore a different table. Let's see what else we got. It's fun to explore something like there's like a fuzzy one where it does crossover distortion, so it only really works on really quiet sounds. Fuzzy. Yeah, let's check this one out. Oh, well, yeah, that's not the one I was looking for, but let's check it out anyway. Okay. That's pretty neat. Let's look for another fuzzy one somewhere. Does he get fuzzy? Yeah, okay. You can hear it kind of goes away pretty fast. It's only at those lower volumes that we really get that distortion. And you can hear when I take the volume down of oscillator 1, even though we're hearing the original timbre and the distortion, it's so quiet that it like it's kind of hard to hear. Here the distortion only really affects the super quiet ranges. Let's check out a different one. What else we got here? Oh, yeah, that one looks weird. Okay, let's see what this one sounds like. It's pretty neat. I can do a whole series in the Waveshaper and explain how Waveshaping works in another video, but yeah, this one I thought was just pretty cool, showing how even going through a linear wavetable adds a little bit of something, or actually takes away a little bit of something inside to low pass to get a perfect phase cancellation. And then also how you can listen to the distortion flavors just on their own, and even step through the colors of any particular distortion by setting a macro. So yeah, it's pretty good stuff. Hopefully this was pretty cool. And yeah, actually I'm going to check out one more thing. Let's go to, I don't know, random one that seems kind of crazy. I want to check out what like this one sounds like on like a low note. Just go to like the lowest C. It's pretty cool. Let's take down the volume of oscillator 1. So this is the original with the saw in there. If we want to dip that saw out, I would turn up the volume for this again. That's pretty neat.